Hello everyone, I'm Railgun Gecko and welcome to today's video. There are two main contributors to being good at any given video game. Your raw skill, like aiming, movement, and adaptability, and your game knowledge, like map awareness, interactions of mechanics, and how to optimize. If you've watched my previous videos, or obviously clicked on this one, you'd know that I focus on sharing game knowledge. And today, we're going over builds in Destiny 1. What are the best builds, and how do you even make one to begin with? Thanks to the help of a few of my friends, I think I've gathered together all the information that you need to approach build crafting in Destiny 1. First, we'll cover how to properly approach making a build, along with an example. Then we'll dive into the optimized builds for endgame activities and why they're the best, along with some hyper-specific builds to show how far deep game knowledge can take you. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's get into it. So, how do we make a build? This isn't a simple question. There are a lot of things that we need to consider. First, what activity are you running? Are there any modifiers? If so, what are they? Are you running solo or in a fire team? What's your role? Are you on offense, support? Are you doing mechanics? Do you have any side goals in your adventure, like quests or bounties? Or are you doing a self-imposed challenge? These are all things that you need to be thinking about when you make your build. The who, what, when, where, and how of build crafting. Using these questions, let's do an example of this. I want to get my 30,000 point Challenge of the Elders completion this week, but my friends aren't on, and I don't want to LFG tonight. Let's say the modifiers are Grenade Kill bonus, Small Arms, and Trickle. Small Arms is great, but Trickle really hurts when Grenade Kills gives us extra points. How do we get around this? For weapons, we should definitely use a primary with either Grenadier or Army of 1 for extra ability regen. Ether Nova is also great thanks to 2-for-1 doubling Army of 1's benefits. Our heavy weapon can be anything, a sword for movement or a rocket for damage. Our weapons are set, but that's only a third of this process. We still need our subclass and armor setup. For our subclass, the best way to cycle grenades is with the Voidwalker Warlock's energy drain. We'll use scatter grenades because of their high lethality. We definitely need Embrace the Void so that our grenade kills can proc energy drain. Our exotic armor of choice will be the ever popular Nothing Manacles. The enhanced scatter grenade tracking makes them even more lethal than they already are, and the second charge helps keep them available. This should do just fine. Now that we know how to approach build crafting, and applied it to a theoretical example, let's turn to what the best of the best use for endgame content and see why they use it. When discussing the optimized endgame builds, I'll be giving more in-depth explanations of why certain things are used. I know for a fact that some people will be upset when I call their favorite ability bad, but this game has had a stagnant sandbox for 9 years and it has been thoroughly studied and optimized. And these builds are only necessary in raids and speedruns, so nothing is stopping you from continuing to use Alchemist Raiment in Patrol. Disclosure complete. First, we'll look at optimized Titan builds, because I'm a Titan main. For general subclass setup, you should be using Titan Codexes 1 and 5 at all times. It provides a good amount of armor, a great amount of recovery, and keeps your agility low. Having low agility is very important. You should also be using the Increased Control Lift modification basically all the time. Increased control and low agility enables you to Titan skate. This is some of the best horizontal movement in the game. To do this, be sprinting forward and rapidly press your jump button. This will get you in the air and rapidly activate and deactivate your lift, giving you multiple bursts of acceleration that will propel you forward at extreme speeds. There are a few instances where increased height or catapult lift will be more useful, but those are very few and far between. My recommended stat split is 5-5-2. Some fights, like Axis Phase 2, work better with 2-5-5, but for general cases, 5-5-2 is the most optimal. Now we'll get into subclass specific optimizations. We'll cover these node options from left to right. First is Sunbreaker. You should, at all times, be using thermite grenades. They deal high damage in a large area and can hit the same enemy multiple times. They are also extremely strong for boss damage, making them the undisputed top choice. Your super modification will mostly be Sun Charge. You will rarely use your super at all, as I will explain later, so this option doesn't really matter, but the odd chance that you need to use your super, the added mobility provided by Sun Charge is useful. There is one exception though, and that's during the Conflux encounter in Vault of Glass. Here you should use Scorched Earth, as it is extremely helpful for when the Templar summons its legions. Your melee modification should always be Melting Point. Melting Point is a 50% damage debuff on enemies, which makes mowing down mages extremely quick and helps you nuke bosses. This is not negotiable. Your first of 2 neutral mods should be Fleet Fire. The increased movement speed, weapon handling, and reload speed is extremely useful. The buff also lasts for 15 seconds, making it really easy to refresh. Your second neutral mod should be Simmering Flames. Simmering Flames causes your grenade and melee to recharge twice as fast when your super is full. This is why I previously mentioned that you won't be using Hammer of Soul very often. The strength of thermite grenades and Melting Point is extremely high, and being able to have their cooldowns is an irreplaceable effect. Cauterize is also powerful, however, it's a bit of a crutch. Sticking to Simmering Flames will help you become a better player and make you a much stronger asset to your teams. Next is Defender. For your grenade choice, use either magnetic or spike grenades. Suppressor grenades in PvE are not particularly useful. Unlike Destiny 2, subclass debuffs are far less effective than raw damage, with one exception that we'll cover later. Your super mod should always be Weapons of Light. The only time that you should be using Blessings of Light is if there are already 3 Weapons of Light bubbles on your team. There are some niche situations where Blessings of Light or even Armor of Light are more useful, but in general, you should stick to weapons. Your melee modification is mostly personal preference, but the best 2 are War Machine for the increased reload speed and Unbreakable for recharging Overshield. Your first neutral mod should be Gift of the Void. This enables your bubble to generate extra orbs when it takes damage. This is extremely useful in King's Fall. However, in Crota's End, Bastion is the better choice. And your second neutral mod should be Illuminated to increase your Weapons of Light damage bonus from 25% to 35%. Unfortunately, the Arc subclasses in Destiny 1 have very little use in endgame content. The only time that you'll see Striker Titan used in endgame PvE is by speedrunners using Death from Above to Power Slide. This is done by swapping to Memory of Fellwinter, then quickly exiting your menu and casting Fist of Havoc with Death from Above. Swapping to Memory of Fellwinter will remove you from your super mid-dive, but you will maintain the momentum, allowing you to move at blinding speeds. This requires Destiny 1 to be stored on an SSD to achieve. We'll now go over the recommended Titan exotics for optimized play. First is Twilight Garrison. The air dodge it provides is extremely helpful when moving around, and it gives you a big boost of speed when Titan skating. This is arguably the best neutral exotic in all of Destiny 1, in my opinion. Second is the Armamentarium. Though its effect is very simple, just having a second grenade charge is incredibly useful, especially if you're using Sunbreaker with thermite grenades. If you are very confident with your movement and feel that the second grenade charge is more useful, use this. There are 3 specific use case exotics that I want to go over. First is Insurmountable Skullfort. This is used for its second melee charge to get another melting point. The next are the Glasshouse and Helm of St. 14. These are both very useful in the Golgoroth fight. Glasshouse extends the durations of Weapons of Light and Blessings of Light, and Helm of St. 14 will blind the thrall that spawned behind you. Next, we'll go over Warlocks. You should set your subclass stats to give you high recovery and medium armor and agility. Your glide option should be Burst Glide. This helps you keep a high horizontal speed and enables you to sword and relic skate. This is done by jumping in the air and then swinging your sword or the relic and activating glide at the same time. For your armor stats, I recommend going with 552. Because the Warlock melees are only okay, having high uptime on your super and grenades is worth tanking its cooldown. To start off our subclasses, we'll go over Voidwalker. Your grenade option should be scatter grenades due to their extremely high lethality. However, Axiom bolts have a definite place in Voidburn Nightfalls. Your super modification should be scatter in general cases and lance if you need long range coverage. Your melee modification should always be lifesteal. Being able to heal on a melee hit is an incredible effect and far stronger than the other two options. Your first neutral mod should be the Hunger. Energy Drain is an amazing effect, and increasing its duration makes it all the more powerful. Your second neutral mod should be Embrace the Void, to enable your grenade and super kills to activate Energy Drain. For Sunsinger, your grenade choice should be Solar Grenades when you're fighting adds, and Fusion Grenades when you're fighting bosses. Your super modification should be Self-Res. The only way to come back from dying in a hard mode raid is Self-Res, which makes it extremely useful. However, in encounters like Templar, Golgoroth, Vosik, and Axis, using Song of Flame is much more beneficial, as increasing your allies' ability recharge rates is an irreplaceable effect, especially if they're Sunbreaker Titans. Please do not, under any circumstance, use Radiant Skin. Of the three options, this provides your team with zero benefit. You are honestly actively hurting your team's effectiveness by using this. Your melee modification should always be Flame Shield. As previously stated, being able to give yourself an overshield is an extremely useful effect. Your first neutral mod should be Viking Funeral. This debuffs enemies that take damage from Scorch. This is great against bosses and normal enemies, as you can kill them much faster. This is the previously mentioned subclass debuff that's actually useful in Destiny 1. Your second neutral mod should be Touch of Flame. This enables your grenades to cause the Scorch effect. And since your grenades can now cause Scorch, you can take advantage of the Viking Funeral effect much more frequently. The Gift of the Sun node is basically useless due to the Sunbreaker exotic arms and Starfire Protocol exotic chest piece. To reiterate here, the Arc subclasses are not particularly useful in endgame PvE. Sorry, Stormcaller. It is technically useful in the beginning of the Siege Engine encounter in Wrath, but any good ad clear subclass is good there, so it's not special. The best exotic Warlock armors follow a similar theme. They all provide a second grenade charge. First is Nothing Manacles, giving you a second scatter grenade charge and enhancing their tracking, further increasing their lethality. Second is Sunbreakers, giving you a second solar grenade charge, and your solar grenades last longer. Third is Starfire Protocol, as it gives you a second fusion grenade. An additional option I want to bring up is Ophidian Aspect. This is because it further increases the duration of energy drain and provides all of your weapons with additional handling and reload speed. Unfortunately, the rest of the Warlock exotic armor pieces are either designed for PvP or just straight garbage. Looking at you, Alchemist Raiment. Now we're finally at Hunters. You should arrange your subclass stats to have higher agility and recovery instead of armor. This does make you a bit brittle in high level content, but the benefits make it worth it. Your jump mod should be Increased Control. Its horizontal movement is the best Hunters can get. But for jumping puzzles, triple jump is also a good option. It goes without saying that Bones of Ao helps with all jumps tremendously. Your armor stats should be 552 for the same reasons as Warlocks. However, you can really get away with 550. Throwing Knife isn't that great outside of Challenge of the Elders. Blink Strike can have a fixed cooldown of 6 seconds from Fast Twitch, and Smoke Bomb is just an escape tool as its offensive mods are not that useful in PvE. Now to our subclasses. First is Gunslinger. Your grenade option is personal preference. Both Swarm and Incendiary grenades are useful, but Trip Mines, while difficult to use, are the most powerful. Your super mod should be Deadeye to increase your golden gun damage. Gunfighter and Combustion have very limited value in high level content. Also, Deadeye is required to one-shot stagger 390 Oryx with Celestial Nighthawk, and one-shot the Oversoul in 390 Crota's End. Your Throwing Knife modification can be whatever you desire. This has very little effect on your gameplay loop, as Golden Gun is the most important part of Gunslinger. With that in mind, your neutral mod should focus entirely on improving Golden Gun. Your first neutral mod should be Keyhole, so your Golden Gun shots over-penetrate enemies. Your second neutral mod should be Over the Horizon to improve the range of your Golden Gun. However, if you're using Celestial Nighthawk, I would recommend your first neutral mod be Gunslinger's Trance to improve weapon stability, as Celestial Nighthawk has Keyhole as a part of its exotic effect. Next is Nightstalker. The recommended grenade option is Spike Grenades. It's easier to control the direction compared to Voidwall grenades, making them more useful. Your super modification should always be Black Hole to greatly increase the duration of your tether. Your melee modification should be Vanish and Smoke. Going invisible breaks enemy tracking and is basically a get out of jail free card if you find yourself in a bad position or need to get a revive. Your first neutral mod should be Light of the Pack to provide your team with lots of orbs. But if you're running solo, Lockdown is the better option. For your second neutral mod, I'm going to make a surprise recommendation and say that you should use Shade Step. This is basically a grounded Twilight Garrison dodge that's built into your subclass. It will also break enemy tracking, like a Shrieker Death Blast, but if you're doing the part glitch during the Siege Engine encounter in Wrath of the Machine as a hunter, I would recommend you use Keen Scout as it will give you much faster movement. I have nothing to say about Bladedancer in endgame PvE. Hell, I have nothing to say for it in any level of PvE. This is very much a PvP focused subclass, and there is only one, count it, one instance in PvE that I can think Bladedancer is worth using in, and that's to get both melee kill and super kill points in Challenge of the Elders, as Arcblade kills will give you both. Exotic recommendations for Hunter is really easy. Use Celestial Nighthawk during Crota and Oryx, otherwise use Bones of Ao. Like with Warlocks, everything else is either designed for PvP or is not that good outside of super niche situations. There are probably a lot of hard pills to swallow in this section. That is the unfortunate nature of a hyper-optimized game. However, you don't necessarily need to always use these hyper-optimized builds. Running around in patrol takes very little effort, and you can reasonably use whatever you want. However, if you're raiding, especially with an LFG team, I recommend you take your builds a bit more seriously and play more optimally. And now for my personal favorite section, the weird niche builds that see use in one or two places. First is an orb printing build for Titans and Hunters. This will see use in Vossic Phase 2 and the entrance encounter to Kingsfall. For Titans, you will be running Defender with the Iron Harvest node. This enables your heavy weapon kills to have a chance to generate an Orb of Light. Your heavy weapon will be Boltcaster, since it also has a perk that gives you a chance to generate orbs on kills. These stack together. Your exotic armor piece of choice will be Crest of Alpha Lupi to give you an extra orb when you cast your bubble. If you know how to do the orb dupe glitch with bubble, Crest of Alpha Lupi will help generate extra orbs for that as well, allowing you to generate lots and lots of orbs. The setup for Hunters will be Nightstalker with Light of the Pack. Your exotic armor piece will be Skyburner's Annex, since its exotic effect is the same as Iron Harvest for Defender Titan, and your heavy weapon will be Boltcaster again. You will be able to generate an unbelievable amount of orbs. This is extremely helpful for giving your team tons and tons of supers, or to benefit from their helmet mod to either heal them or give them additional ability energy. These two builds actually see some use in speedrunning. This next one is something that I thought of for Warlock, since I don't know any weird niche builds for it. I call it Perma Energy Drain. For this, you'll be running Voidwalker Warlock with Embrace the Void and the Hunger, along with Ophidian Aspect to increase the duration of energy drain. This makes sure that your energy drain is active long enough to always give you your grenade back on a kill, so you will never ever run out of grenades. I personally think this is only really useful in Challenge of the Elders and maybe Voidburn Nightfalls, but it's pretty fun. To conclude, we covered the steps to build crafting, did a theoretical example, discussed the optimized builds, and displayed the depth of build crafting with some super niche options. You should now have the knowledge required to create your own builds or to optimize your existing ones. This is a big step in your journey to becoming a better Destiny 1 player, and I'm glad that I could help you take it. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Sermia78 for helping me gather together the optimized builds. He's a speedrunner and has recently released a modern guide to all of the Destiny 1 raids, showing their current strategies. It's a great watch and extremely helpful if you're a returning player, or learning the raids for the first time. Also, if you like Summoning Salt style world record progression videos, he made one covering the world record speedruns for Kingsfall. It's also a great watch. This is my biggest video to date, and it took a lot of time to do. I really appreciate you all so much for watching. My next video is already in progress, so keep an eye out for it, and the Arms Day analysis videos will continue to come on Wednesdays. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and God bless.